I'll get it. 79 West Vista, Molly McGee speaking.
Hi, Molly, it's Dennis.
Huh?
It's Dennis Daly. I would have loved to have been on your show years ago, but the best I can do is kind of go back through history and play your shows this year. You understand how that works, don't you?
Oh, sure, I realize how those things happen.
Okay then, Molly, I better get this program put together. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Goodbye.
Who'd you say it was, Molly? Anybody we know?
Dennis.
Decent sort of a chap. Generous and a good neighbor.
It was one of the longest-running and best-loved shows in the history of radio. Throughout the 1930s, then through the war years, and into the 50s, Jim and Marion Jordan, as Fibber, McGee, and Molly, brought a little bit of mid-America into our living rooms every week. Their radio home at 79 Wistful Vista was visited by an array of zany characters and lovable guests. Their jokes and running gags, including Fibber's famous overpacked hall closet. Dennis Daly looks at the evolution of this historic radio series in a salute to Fibber McGee and Molly.
Hi and hello again, everybody. And during this series, we're looking at one of the most successful radio shows of all time. If you have never heard an episode of Fibber McGee and Molly before, you have a real treat. For decades, the show made us laugh, brought us through World War II and much of the Depression, and on into the 50s and 60s. Now sit back and enjoy 2 episodes of Fibber McGee and Molly. Now, just a little aside, NBC wanted to bring it to television in the 1950s. Jim and Marion Jordan's friends had told them, well, you're best suited for radio, don't do it. So they got other actors to portray Fibber McGee and Molly. The public didn't like it at all, and the show didn't even last a year. So a real treat today, one of the half-hour episodes from 1945, and then we go back to a series of little 5-minute vignettes that they did just before Fibber McGee and Molly finally said goodbye in 1959. First, now let's go back to 1945 and one of my favorite episodes of Fibber McGee and Molly, where Fibber thinks he is a poet.
The Johnson Wax Program with Fibber McGee and Molly. The makers of Johnson Wax products for home and industry present Fibber McGee and Molly, written by Don Quinn and Phil Leslie, with music by the King's Men and Billy Mills Orchestra. You've noticed, I'm sure, how you develop a definitely friendly feeling for certain things you use or wear. Maybe it's a tweed coat that just seems right for you and you hate to give it up. Maybe it's a household appliance that makes your work easier. It might very well be Johnson's Glow Coat. Many women have written us letters of high praise for Glow Coat. They like it for 3 very good reasons. First, it saves them many hours of work all year long. There's no rubbing or buffing with Johnson's Glow Coat because it's self-polishing. You simply apply it to your linoleum or other floors and let it dry. Second, Glow Coat gives your linoleum a beautiful polish that's easy to maintain, and it keeps colors new-looking practically forever. And third, regular care with Glow Coat adds greatly to the life of your linoleum, new or old, because it protects the surface against wear, dirt, and moisture. For these 3 good reasons, Johnson's self-polishing Glow Coat has made real friends everywhere. Spring has come to Wistful Vista. The birds are building new nests with a sneer at the OPA. Happy neighbors are planting new crops of tomatoes and lumbago in their victory gardens. And at number 79, we find a little woman, as usual, busy with her housework. And the little man, as usual, flat on his Davenport. As we meet Fibber McGee and Molly.
I don't know what's the matter with me today, Molly. I feel awful restless.
I know you do, dearie. You've turned over twice in the last hour.
I didn't mean that. I mean, well, maybe it's just spring or something, but I feel a burning ambition, a yen to do something.
Well, the front lawn could use a little grass seed.
Grass seed. The birds eat it before it hits the ground. The smartest thing we could do would be to pave that front yard with green cement. No planting, no watering, no mowing, no dandelions. Say, that ain't a bad idea.
Come in.
79 Whistle Vista?
Yeah.
FIBBER McGEE?
Yeah.
Telegram.
Gimme.
Sign.
Where?
Here.
There.
Here.
Thanks.
Right.
Scram.
McGee.
Huh?
Tip.
Nope.
Dope.
Well, I do think you might have slipped the lad a quarter, dearie.
I didn't want to undermine the kid's character. Besides, I'm laying on my change purse.
Who's the telegram from?
Western Union. We know anybody at Western Union?
Well, not since Uncle Dennis got too fat for his uniform.
Maybe this is from Roosevelt. I wired him asking if he needed a man at the San Francisco conference that understood Russian.
Heavenly days. Do you understand Russian?
Oh, a little. Pachakornia. That means dark eyes. Nichevo, that means doesn't matter.
Yeah?
Spasiba, thank you. Caviar, that means fish eggs.
I see. So by the time you say thank you for the fish eggs, they've got dark eyes, but it doesn't matter. You're through.
Oh, my gosh, even a smattering of Russian. Hey, Molly, look, I won. I won a prize. Look at the telegram.
Read it to me. What'd you win a prize for?
Remember that limerick contest I sent in the last line, too, into the contest, too? I won.
Well, good for you, dearie. What'd you win?
A limerick contest I sent in the last
No,
line.
I mean, what's the prize?
Huh? Oh. Well, let me read this again. It says, happy to inform you judges considered your poetic efforts best. Prize on way. You hear that? My poetic efforts. My poetic efforts.
Well, it was just one line of a limerick, wasn't it?
My dear girl, that is not the point. The point is that I have achieved recognition as a poet.
Oh, dear.
And now I know what's been bothering me all day. Why I've been so restless. It's the poet in me striving for expression. It's the creative urge, a yearning to write. At last I have found myself.
And right where you left you, too.
Poetry. My destiny. Let me live in a roadhouse by the side of a man and be friendly. Or let me...
Hello, Mrs. McGee, Mr. McGee.
Hello, Alice.
Good day, my child. Don't you remember sweet Alice Ben Blue?
Ben Bolt, Mr. McGee.
I understand. Don't you remember sweet Alice Ben Bolt? Sweet Alice... You like poetry, child? I am by way of being a bard, you know.
Oh, gee, really? Have you been writing poetry very long, Mr. McGee?
His efforts to date consist of one line of a limerick, Alice. It's like me sewing a button on a house dress and calling myself Hattie Carnegie.
What do you mean, one line of a limerick? I wrote more than that. Remember that poem I wrote when we were so broke? And I had to pawn that big brass padlock?
What was the title of that poem, Mr. McGee?
Hawk, hawk the lock.
Yes, I remember. You also wrote one when you were in the Army.
Huh?
You know, when the captain broke up the crap game in the mess tent?
Oh, yeah. Paradise Lost. Almost forgot that. But it just goes to show you, Alice, I have a definite flair for poetry. I wish I had a room where I could shut myself away from the world, where I could commute with nature and think beautiful thoughts.
Well, you could call yourself Edgar and use the guest room.
Please, let us not descend to levity. To think that after all these years of futile struggle, to think that the moose has at last returned.
The what?
Moose. M-U-S-E, moose. It's a literary expression, my child. Means inspiration. In fact, they got one right now. Who's got a pencil? Write this down.
Oh, dear, I haven't got a pencil.
Oh, here, I'll use my lipstick. I'll write it in shorthand. Go ahead, Mr. McGee.
The glittering dewdrops on the lawn were there this morning. Now they're gone. And can be seen no more, alas, those pixie footprints in the grass.
Well, now, isn't that sweet?
Read that back to me, Alice. I want to see if it needs any fixing.
Read it back?
Yes, that verse about the brownie's hoof prints.
You wrote it down in shorthand. You said you could write shorthand.
Oh, I can write it, but I never did learn to read the stuff.
Oh, sure.
of the orchestra and La Golondrina.
Hey, Molly.
Yes?
Remember I told you this morning to remind me to get a haircut?
Yes?
Oh, forget it. I'm going to let it get long.
What?
Whoever saw a poet with a crew haircut? Gee, I might even grow a beard. Longfellow had a beard.
So did Whitman.
I'm talking about poets. Candy makers don't wear beards. Ain't sanitary.
No, I meant Walt Whitman.
Oh, yeah?
Anyway, you won't have to wait long, dearie.
Mm-hmm.
Your hair is long enough now to write short poetry.
It's so self-satisfying to know that one is doing what nature has equipped one to do. To feel the thrill of creation when one dashes off a sonnet or a roundelay.
I don't mind your roundelays. It's your laying around that gets me.
Yeah, well, that's what's the matter with me. I have been suppressed. Did you ever have the feeling of being stifled, hemmed in, cooped up, unable to expand yourself?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, I have. But it goes away when I take my girdle off.
You know, I think I shall contact one of the newspaper syndicates. It's time that my poetry was brought to the masses.
Oh, dear.
I should like to lift their drab lives out of the muck and mire and bring them into the bright sunlight of... Yeah, and there might be some dough in it, too.
You might try your hand at writing greeting cards.
Ah, too commercial. I shall strive for higher things.
Try skywriting.
For instance, just now I had a passing thought, a gay bit of whimsy. Under the spreading maple tree, the village blacksmith stands.
I've heard that one, McGee.
You've heard it? How could you heard it? I haven't even written it yet.
Well, it sounds mighty familiar.
Oh, I don't see... Oh, maybe you're thinking of Under the Spreading Chestnut Tree.
I am.
This is Under the Spreading Maple Tree. Oh, different kind of a tree entirely. Mine goes, under the spreading maple tree, the village blacksmith lies. Nobody has a horse to shoe, so all he shoes is flies. You like that?
Well, it has a certain something.
Betcha.
But if we leave the windows open a little while, it'll clear out.
One thing I shall strive for in my work is a delicate sort of a...
Come in. Well, heavenly days, it's Mrs. Carstairs. Do come in, Mrs. Carstairs.
How do you do, Mrs. McGee? Good day, Mr. McGee.
Good day, Mrs. Carstairs. I trust you are well. But how else could one be on such a glorious spring day? With the tender leafy buds bursting into life and the heavens resounding to the lyrical sweetness of songbirds.
The lyrical sweetness of what, McGee?
Songbirds. Poets don't say birds. They say beards. You remember the bit of verse that goes, a little beardy in a tree sang as he twinkled his eye at me? As a poet, you are no Omar Khayyam. In fact, you're laying more eggs than I am.
Do I understand, Mrs. McGee, that your husband is a poet?
Oh, yes, indeed, Mrs. Carstairs.
Oh, how splendid. We Carstairs, you know, are direct lineal descendants of Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Ah, yes. Excellent chap, Alfred. Some of his work was mildly successful, I believe. I, on the other hand, trace my family back to Edgar Allan Poe.
Sort of a Poe relation, you might say.
You care for poetry, Mrs. Carstairs?
I simply adore it, Mr. McGee. I think my favorite bit of verse is that which I am sure you know. My heart is a lonely hunter, hunting a lonely hill.
Hunting and hunting and hunting for a place to build a still. Known that one for years, Carsty.
Really, Mr. McGee, you're quite talented. Would you consent someday to address our local chapter of the Granddaughters of the Puritans? It would be such a surprise to the ladies.
Indeed it would.
Frankly, Mrs. Carstairs, I feel that the world is not yet ready for my work. My poetry consists of such delicate fantasy that it can only be comprehended by scholars. You understand, I hope?
Oh, quite. But what I came in for, Mrs. McGee, was to renew my suggestion that you join our chapter. We do have such fun.
Well, I'll think it over, Mrs. Carstairs, thank you. What do the Granddaughters of the Puritans do at their meetings?
Oh, we serve tea and make resolutions and pass motions and do what we can for real Americanism, such as prohibiting the flag from being displayed in front of shops which cater to the lower classes. Now, here is an application blank for you. Do think it over.
Thank you.
Good day, Mrs. Carstairs. And remember what Fragilard said in his last letter to Janetome. Each in his own way must strive to denecrem the infinite of Crevamorne, that wave by wave the very damper of Sanatroy must in the end have sway.
How lovely. I hope I can remember it. Good day.
Oh, boy. Is she a fool?
How can you say that, McGee? She was quite impressed by your poetry.
Well, don't that prove it? She had the sense of a jaybird. She'd know I was a phony. You going to join them granddaughters?
Well, I don't know. Might do me good to get out of an apron and into a fox fur for a few afternoons. My goodness.
Hi, folks.
Oh, hello, Mr. Wilcox.
Ah, my boy, come in. Warm thee at our hearth and have no care. Just park thy well-fed carcass in a chair.
How was that again?
Just a little poetry, Mr. Wilcox. Himself here has decided to make a career of it.
I'm dedicating my life to poetry, Junior. I feel that life is so sordid, so ugly, that I must do what I may to bring it beauty.
Show him your notebook, dearie. I have a feeling it'll be a collector's item someday, Mr. Wilcox. And I hope I don't forget to put the can out the day he collects.
Well, let's see it, pal.
Oh, these are just random jottings, lad. Just vagrant thoughts. I feel that when I have suffered more keenly...
Say, this is good. The evening sun goes down upon the plain. Homeward the plowman plods his weary way.
Who plods his weary way?
Homeward the plowman. I thought Homeward was rather a quaint name for a plowman.
Well, look, why don't you finish it? Like this, maybe. The evening sun goes down upon the plain. Homeward the plowman plods his weary way.
Yeah.
His furniture brightly gleams in every grain. He Johnson waxes everything each day.
Isn't that cute, McGee?
My gosh, Junior, can't you realize that true poetry is...
Hey, I like this one, too. The one that starts out, listen, my children, and you shall hear how housewives far and housewives near.
Hey, that ain't the way I wrote that. You're twisting it.
Learned of the beautiful, wondrous facts and the joys of using Johnson's wax.
Plagiarism.
Johnson's on picture frames and doors, on tables and chairs and sills and floors, on luggage and banisters, boxes and knobs, and 1,000 other useful jobs.
Now, just a darn minute, Waxy. You can't twist...
Johnson's wax is a wonderful thing to make a housewife laugh and sing.
No.
Makes drudgery just a hollow sham. But McGee's getting sore. I'd better scram.
Isn't he clever, dearie?
Clever, my clavicle. He's got a lot of moxie barging in here and burlesquing my poetry. When I suppose one cannot write real poetry until one has suffered, can one?
That's what they say.
Yep.
So you stay in here and suffer, dearie. I've got to go out and see how Beulah's coming along with dinner.
Yep.
And don't use up all my good stationery.
Okay. Ah, there goes a good kid. If I ever get to be a successful poet and make a lot of dough, it'll never go to her head. No, sir. And I hate to think what it'll do to me. I'd be the most impossible. Come in.
Hi, mister.
Oh, hello there, Teeny. Please state your business briefly now. I'm a very busy
What
man.
you doing, mister? What you doing? What you?
Oh, I'm engaged in the production of poetry, my child.
Oh?
And even while I'm standing here batting the fat with you, the poetic masterpiece of the world may be going unwritten. What was it you wanted?
Well, I wanted you to help me get my piggy bank open, mister. Willie Toops is waiting for me. We're going to buy some rabbits. You got to unscrew this little screw on the bottom of it. And I can't do it. I guess women just don't understand machinery, I guess.
No, I guess not, sis.
No?
Oh, here, let me have it. Why, my gosh, I can unscrew this with my fingernails.
Gee, you're strong, mister. I bet you're the strongest man in the world, I bet you.
Oh, no, I'm not. One of the strongest, maybe, but... There. Ooh. All over the floor. Oh, here, I'll help you pick them up, sis.
They sure rolled all over, didn't they, mister? There's one under that chair over there.
Okay, I'll get it. There you are, sis. Well, I guess that's all of them.
Oh, no, mister. This is only 63 cents.
Huh?
Gee, I'd almost swear I had $1.50.
Oh, my gosh, really? Well, let's take another look, sis.
You see any more, mister?
Nary a shilling, sis. Unless they show up in the house cleaning. Looks like you're stuck.
Oh.
Huh?
And I thought I was going to have $1.50.
No.
And I only got 63 cents.
No.
Well, thanks anyway, mister. I'm sorry I bothered
Now,
you.
hey. Cheer up, sis. We'll probably find the other 80 or 90 cents when we vacuum in here.
Oh.
No. Here. Take this $1. Take that. Now, I'll keep whatever I find, huh? What do you say?
Oh, mister, you're the kindest man in the whole world. You're so nice to little children. Now Willie Toops and I can go buy a rabbit. Thank you ever so much, mister.
That's okay. Now, you're sure I won't be making any profit when I find the rest of these coins?
I'm sure you won't, mister. And thanks ever so much.
Oh, forget it, sis. Glad to be of service. Well, come again.
Thanks, mister. Hey, Willie, I made another buck. Now let's go and have Mr. Anderson open it.
The King's Men sing Walk a Little, Talk a Little.
Get that moonlight, perfect June night. Just a night for love, and here's how you find it. Walk a little, talk a little, then you stop to steal a little kiss or two. Walk a little, talk a little, then you stop to say a little I love you. And you stroll along, hum a little song, and your hearts will be in tune. Pick your favorite place for a quick embrace, then once more you walk a little, talk a little, then you stop to look into each other's eyes. You can help romance a little if you take a chance a little with those sighs. When you start, get your own sweetheart, and here is all you do. Just walk a little bit, talk a little bit, then hug a little bit, kiss a little bit, then watch your dreams come true. Stop to steal a little kiss or two. Walk a little, talk a little, then you stop to say a little I love you. As you walk along, hum a happy song, then your heart will be in tune. Pick your favorite place for a sweet embrace, then once more you walk a little bit, talk a little bit, stop a little bit, look a little bit in her eyes. Walk a little bit, talk a little bit, hug a little bit, kiss a little bit, sigh those sighs. So if you wish to woo, here is all you do. Just walk a little, talk a little more. Walk a little, talk a little slow. All your dreams come true.
Hey, Molly, did my prize come yet? The one I won when I won the limerick contest?
Haven't seen it, McGee. What do you suppose it'll be, anyway?
Oh, well, suppose it is only a check for a couple of $1,000. Wouldn't that be grand?
That'll be $2,000.
2,000 smacks.
Yeah?
I think I'll use it to build a little vine-covered tower on top of the house where I can sit and write poetry. Imagine me sitting there with a turtle dove on each shoulder and a magneto in my hair.
Magnolia, dearie.
Yeah, a magnolia. Well, anyway, are you sure that prize didn't come yet?
Pretty sure, but I'll check with Beulah. Beulah? Oh, Beulah. Somebody ball for Beulah?
Hey, Beulah, did a package or a special delivery letter come from me today?
No, sir. From which field of operations was you anticipating to communicate?
Well, he won a prize in a poetry contest, Beulah, and we're all agog to know what it is.
Excuse me, ma'am, but before you get all agog, maybe you better be sure it ain't all a gag.
Well, this is no joke, Beulah. I won the contest legitimate. Let me know if I get a letter or something, will you?
Yeah, sir. I know how it is to get a prize or something. Once when I was just a little child, no more than 6 inch high to a fat pony, I won me a beautiful doll bucket. But everything happened at once in our family, seemed like.
What do you mean everything happened at once, Beulah?
2 days after I gets me the doll buggy, we gets us a new baby brother, and my dolly gets dispossessed.
Well, you were probably just as proud to wheel the real baby around as you would be to wheel the doll, Beulah.
Oh, yeah, sir, but with a real little baby, you can't fling it up on the porch when you want to go play run, sheep, run with the other kids. See, you stuck with me.
Well, that's the penalty you pay for being a girl, Beulah. Little brother has the fun and sister does the work.
Yeah. Then 20 years later, sister's buggy is broke and little brother's going around with dolls. It don't seem right.
Well, let me know the minute my prize gets here, Beulah. I'm getting as itchy as a shortstop flannel.
Oh, get as itchy. I love that man.
Let me see. Where was I?
Well, you were living by the side of a man being a friend to a house.
Huh? Well. Hey, you know what I'm going to compose? I'm going to compose a tone poem.
Why, don't you have to know music for that? I thought you were tone deaf.
What do you mean tone deaf? I got perfect pitch.
Have you really?
Why, certainly. Give me a sharp hay fork and I can fill a wagon and nothing flat. Why, everybody used to say that.
Come in.
Hello, Molly.
Oh, hello there, Dr. Gamble.
And how are you today, Dreamboat?
Splendid, Doctor. Splendid. And you, pray tell, are feeling well?
And I, pray tell, are feeling well. Sweet Genevieve, what goes on here?
Well, it's very simple, Doctor. He's taken up poetry.
Oh, no.
Yes, Doctor, 'tis true. 'Tis indeed true. I have at last come to my real vocation. It has become my mission in life to interpret beauty to those who cannot...
Stop it, will you? Don't drool that Greenwich Village nonsense at me, you little faker. Poetry, my peritoneum.
Ooh.
You couldn't rhyme moon and June if you collaborated 40 years with Ira Gershwin. You haven't got a sonnet in your bonnet that'd bring 12 cents at a literary rummage sale.
Hey, now listen. He won a prize in a poetry contest, Doctor. First prize, didn't you, dearie?
Well, Nat. Now, if you two will please be quiet, I have work to do. You will please excuse me, Doctor. I am about to woo the moose.
You're about to what?
Woo the moose. M-U-S-E, moose.
Well, you got a great head for it. And what's more...
Come in.
Package for Mr. McGee. Sign here, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Heavenly days, McGee. It's from the International Food Corporation. Must be your prize for the limerick contest.
Oh, this I shall have to see. Open it up, Chubby.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Mine is. It ain't awful heavy, but this is an odd way to deliver a couple of $1,000 when I... Well, I'll be a...
Well, for goodness sakes, what is it?
Interesting little prize, isn't it?
Oh.
12 packages of Heckler's Brecky Wecky Bran Flakes.
Well, of all the double-crossing cheap jack chiselers I ever heard. Here I beat my brains out for their dirty little limerick contest, and what do I get? Breakfast food.
Poets don't need food. They live on the fragrance of wildflower.
Well, as I always say, McGee, it only takes a pencil to write a little poem, but it takes a heap of groceries to make a house a hoeing.
Say, that's not bad, Molly.
You know, I've always wanted to write poetry myself, Doctor. In fact, I think I will.
No.
I think I'll make it my mission in life to bring joy and happiness into the
No, not that. Please, no.
April, month of showers, puts a little extra strain on your housekeeping duties, doesn't it? Wet feet and rubbers are apt to track up your floors, and rain may come in an open window. But that's when you really appreciate the faithful service of Johnson's Wax, standing guard over the beauty and finish of your floors and your windowsills. The wax forms a protective shield, not only against moisture, but against dirt and wear, too. It makes your housework easier all year, adds to the beauty of your entire home. Floors, furniture, and woodwork that are regularly Johnson waxed take on greater beauty with each application. And there are more than 100 extra uses for Johnson's Wax throughout your home. For leather goods like shoes and luggage, for accessories and picture frames and lampshades, for metal and enameled surfaces like your refrigerator. Johnson's Wax is really more than a household help. It's a method of protective housekeeping.
McGee, have you given up poetry for good?
I'll say I have. I'm through. Why?
Well, Dr. Gamble wanted you to write a little thing for him.
Oh, gee, really? What does he want?
A check for $22.50. He says you can call it Ode to a Doctor.
Huh?
Good night, all.
This is Harlow Wilcox, speaking for the makers of Johnson Wax Finishes for Home and Industry, inviting you all to be with us again next Tuesday night. Good night. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
You're listening to another in Dennis Daly's series of salutes to one of the best-loved shows in the history of American radio, Fibber McGee and Molly. Now again, here's Dennis.
You know, except for the problems with some of the sound quality on these old shows, they sound brand new in many ways. The humor is so endearing, and that episode, coming from 66 years ago, is as funny as when it was presented on NBC that Tuesday night back in 1945. Now, let's move to the end of the Fibber McGee and Molly run. We're only halfway through our salute, but I thought it might be a good time to see where Fibber McGee and Molly would end up. Molly became, or Marion, I should say, became increasingly more ill. A lifetime battle with alcoholism that made her miss more than one season back in the 1930s. But then cancer, and what we're going to hear are some of the 5-minute vignettes that Jim and Marion did for the old NBC Monitor, that wonderful weekend series that NBC did that was full of fun and discussion. So here we have it from 1959, several of those little vignettes produced by NBC with Fibber McGee and Molly, and the audience did not know at the time just how ill Molly was.
What was that big brown envelope that came for you in the morning mail, McGee?
It was my first lesson from the Apex Memory Training School. I told you I signed up for it. And believe me, kiddo, this system of theirs is great, you know.
Well, it doesn't seem to have helped you much so far.
What do you mean?
You forgot to take the trash out again this morning.
I didn't forget to take it out, Molly. I'm just employing the Apex system. You remember the important stuff by dismissing the trivialities from your mind. And taking out the trash happens to be a triviality.
An awful lot of trash collectors would be thrown out of work if everybody thought that way.
Well, I don't mean that the trash don't have to be carried out by somebody. It's just not the job for a person with a great mind. That's what the Apex people say.
I don't think I'm going to like the Apex people.
Oh, they're a wonderful crowd, Molly. In fact, they're making a new man out of me. When I get this system learned, I'll remember everything I ever knew. Would you like to know how it works?
No, not particularly.
Well, it's all based on the association of ideas, you see. Everything a human being knows is associated with something else. We don't just have straight facts running around loose in our cerebariums.
Well, that's a comforting thought.
Now, for instance, you say a word, and I'll show you how I associate that word with other stuff.
All right. The word is tetraethyl.
Oh, come on, Molly. Stop skipping around. I'm serious about this.
Okay, I'll give you another word. Indian.
Well, Indian reminds me of the Battle of Tippecanoe. That, right away, reminds me of the fact I hadn't thought of in years, that it was fought on February 11th, 1811. That makes me think that it was the year before the War of 1812, and the hero of that war was Oliver Hazard Perry. Hazard makes me think of fire hazard, and when I think of fire, I think of furnace. And that reminds me that I got to fire the furnace in a few minutes. You see how it works?
I'm certainly glad that the hero of the War of 1812 wasn't Winfield Scott.
Why?
We would have gotten awfully cold before you fixed the furnace.
Molly, you're always looking for loopholes and things. Actually, this memory course is a wonderful thing. I find I'm remembering facts and dates that I thought I'd forgot all about. Give me a date, and I'll show you what I mean.
Well, let's see. April 14th.
Let's see. My process of association goes to work right away, and I can tell you that was the date that Lincoln was shot in 1865. It was also the date that William Henry Harrison died in 1831. Try me on another one.
How about the date today?
Indiana was admitted to the Union on this date in the year 1816.
Anything else?
Now, wait a minute. Let me associate for a minute. Nope, that's it.
Sure you're not forgetting something?
Molly, with this system, I don't forget anything. If there was another event on this date, I never knew about it.
Oh, I think you knew about this one at one time.
I don't associate anything. What is it?
Today is our wedding anniversary.
Don't be silly, Molly. We were married on the... Oh, my gosh. And I didn't get you a present.
It's all right.
Gee, the stores are closed now. I'll tell you what I'll give you as a gift, Molly. I'll let you use my memory course after I'm through with it.
Is that you, McGee?
Molly, there's only 2 keys to this front door. You got one of them and I got the other one. Since you're already inside the house, it stands to reason that any new arrival coming in must be me.
Well, it's just that I didn't know you'd left. Where have you been?
I went to the grocery like you told me.
How could you have done that? The grocery list I gave you is still here on the desk.
Molly, I didn't take that list on purpose. I figured this would be a good chance to try out that new memory course I'm taking. I memorized the list, and that way I didn't need to take it with me.
Oh, dear. I'll bet anything you forgot some of the items I had written down.
No, I didn't know such a thing of the kind. I just got in my mind the sentence, the red bear sits on the green table and erases the pencil marks.
You better let me take your temperature, McGee.
I'm all right. That's just the way the memory system I'm taking works. When I say, the red bear sits on the green table and erases the pencil marks, I don't mean it literally. Every word in that sentence is a key to something that I had to get at the grocery. See? Now you take the word red. You see? Here's the red cabbage you asked me to get.
It was beets I asked you to get, and not red cabbage.
Oh, gee, that's right. Beets are red, too, aren't they? I could have sworn cabbage was the only red vegetable.
What's in the package here?
Veal cutlets. The word bear reminded me of that. Now, when you think of bear, you think of bear meat. That's how I remembered the cutlet.
It was a pork roast I asked you to get.
Are you sure? When I thought of meat, I thought of veal cutlets right away.
That's because we had them for dinner last night.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that is where that idea came from. I didn't have any trouble with the word green. Here's your Brussels sprouts.
Oh, McGee, it was green beans you were supposed to get.
Well, Brussels sprouts taste almost the same. Then, of course, on the word table, I reminded myself of the 4 legs on a table, and that's how I happened to get these 4 cans of peaches.
It was 4-star brand tomato juice I wanted.
Well, peaches got the same vitamins in them. And then the word erases, that gave me a little trouble. Then I remembered that you erase with rubber. So here's your new kitchen sponge.
Jerry, I asked you to bring back a box of rubber fruit jar rings.
Well, we need a new kitchen sponge. And then this last item, I know I got that right. That came from the word pencil. I stood there thinking of something that looked like a pencil. So I got 2 bunches of asparagus. They were on sale.
It was not supposed to get it with celery.
Oh.
This memory course of yours is a complete failure. You didn't get one single item that was on the list.
Dad, right, Molly, the memory course is not at fault. It's oblivious to anybody who thinks about it that you just ordered the wrong thing. Now, let's see. Apex Memory Course, lesson number 3. The student builds self-confidence by repeating to himself. I have the memory of an elephant. I have the memory of an elephant.
Hi, mister.
Oh, hi, Lizzie. I have the memory of an elephant.
Gee, that's a coincidence, I betcha.
Why? What's so coincidental about that?
Because my daddy says you have a waistline like an elephant, too, I betcha.
Well, now, I'll just disregard the palaver of your paternal parents. Jeannie, what brings you out on such a chill morn?
Well, I came over to tell you something real important, I betcha.
Now you can't remember what it is, huh?
No, I remember.
Well, it just so happens, Jeannie, that I'm taking the Apex Memory Course now, and by using the Apex System of Association, I'll show you how you can remember what you came for.
What I came for was to tell you.
Now, hold it. Just going at the problem willy-nilly like that's not going to help any. The secret lies in getting the thought processes organized properly. Now, have you got any idea what goes on inside your skull, Jeannie?
You mean between my ears and under my beard?
Well, that's the general area I was referring to.
Gosh, no. I don't know what goes on there.
Well, you got nerve endings and electrical impulsification shooting around in your brain all the time.
Oh.
Yes, sir. Every thought you got is connected to some other thought. By using the Apex system, you can hook them all together and remember everything you ever knew.
You mean every teeny tiny itsy-bitsy thing I ever knew?
That's right, Jeannie. Just by using the Apex system of association, I could make you remember what you had for lunch 3 weeks ago last Tuesday.
A peanut butter and jelly sandwich and cocoa.
How in the Sam Hill can you remember that?
Well, because I pick the tap dancing lesson every other Tuesday, and I didn't pick one last Tuesday, so I must have taken one the Tuesday before, and if I took one the Tuesday before, then I must have taken one 3 weeks ago Tuesday. And before I take one, I always have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and cocoa.
Oh, you do, eh? I says you do, huh?
You what?
Always have that.
That's right.
A peanut butter and jelly sandwich and cocoa before you take a tap dancing lesson.
How'd you know?
Oh, Teeny, we're straying far aforward here. What I'm trying to get you to remember is what you come in here for. Now, think careful. Does it associate with any word beginning with A?
No. It begins with W.
Oh, you can remember the letter.
Mm-hmm.
See how the system works? Now try to think of the word beginning with W. Can you do that?
I sure can. It's Willie Coop.
Oh, Willie Coop.
Mm-hmm.
Now, nothing's hard now. Now, what about Willie Coop?
Well, that's what I've been trying to tell you, mister. Willie Coop and I were playing cowboy and Indian, and Willie was the Indian, and he shot a flaming arrow.
Oh.
And I went up on the roof of your house, and your roof was on fire.
What?
Get rivet.
That's the dead. Now, let's see. 1 is a fire plug, 2 is a bedspread, 3 is a horse.
What in the world are you talking about, McGee?
Those are just the key symbols in the Apex memory training course I'm taking, Molly. Now, you say, for instance, you sent me to the grocery store for a bushel of peaches and a loaf of bread. Now, for number 1, I always think of a fire plug. So, I'd get a mental picture of a bushel of peaches sitting next to a fire plug. Then for 2...
Who left them there?
Who left what? Where?
The bushel of peaches next to the fire plug.
Nobody left them there, Molly. I can just see them there.
Well, if you see them there, somebody must have left them.
Molly, there aren't really any peaches next to the fire plug. I just see them there. Now, for 2, I think of a bedspread. So, I see a loaf of bread lying on a bedspread.
Well, get it off of there. You'll get crumbs in the bed.
Molly, I can't get crumbs in the bed on account of because this is not a real loaf of bread.
Well, what is it?
It's the loaf of bread you asked me to get at the grocery store.
I did not ask you to get any bread at the grocery store. We have at least enough to last until tomorrow.
Look, Molly, this is hypothetical bread.
Well, I don't want it. The seeds get in my teeth.
Okay, you in. But I still say this memory course is a great thing. By using association, you can remember anything you ever knew. Right now, I'm associating to remember what our auto license number was in 1926.
McGee, do you know you have on 1 black shoe and 1 brown one?
That's entirely possible, because when you start using this memory course, the secret lies in dismissing all irreverent stuff from your mind. And shoes are irreverent when it comes to remembering 1926 license numbers.
You haven't combed your hair this morning either.
Dismiss it. Hair has nothing to do with what I'm thinking about. 1926, that was the year of the big Florida hurricane. I read about that in the Peoria paper. So that means we were living in Peoria at the time. We therefore had an Illinois license. Now I got to try and visualize.
Your socks don't match either.
I'm in a transom. I can see it. The colors were blue and white.
If you mean your socks, you have 1 green one and 1 blue one.
The license plate. Blue letters on a white background. The first number was 3. 314. 314,000.
McGee, you have a wild look in your eye, and I don't like it.
It began with 314. After 30 years, I can still remember. 3146. No, 3145. 5, that's it. 31457. 1 more number and I got it.
McGee, this whole memory course is useless if you're just going to remember silly things like an old license number.
31457. Memory course? What memory course?
Heavenly days, don't you even remember you're taking it?
When I concentrate on something, I forget everything else. It couldn't be important anyway. Now, let me think. 31457. Dadbrat it, I'm going to remember that other number if it's the last thing I ever do. 31457.
My, it does bring back a lot of memories to go through these old newspapers from out in the garage, doesn't it, McGee?
Yeah, they sure go back a lot farther than I figured. In fact, there's some at the bottom of the pile that I must have brought over here from my parents' home. This old yellow one, look at it. That's a real collector's item. That's the one that's got our birth announcements in it.
Heavenly days, really?
Yeah, right here. You know, you may not believe it, but I can actually remember those days in the hospital right after I was born.
Well, I have a vivid memory of the first time I met you, dearie.
You do?
Sure. We were lying there in our cribs in the maternity ward. I remember I'd been dozing off and on all day.
You're that new Molly Driscoll, ain't you, sis?
Well, my last name's Driscoll, but I don't think they've given me a first name yet.
Yes, they have. Your name's Molly. I heard my mother mention it when I was in there today. They're still calling me Infant McGee. But I think they're going to pick Fibber for my first name. They better be making up their minds. I'm 3 days old, you know. How old are you?
I'll be 3 days at 1 o'clock this afternoon. And I can already lift my head up. Can you?
Shucks, I could do that yesterday. I'm trained to become a great athlete, you know.
You are awfully muscular.
9 pounds and 6 ounces. Not a bit of fat on me. I can even grab a hold of the top of the crib and pull myself up. You want to see me do it?
Oh, I don't believe you can do it.
Sure I can. Just watch.
McGee, look out. And that's the way it happened. You fell out of the crib right on your head.
Well, it just so happens, Molly, that I didn't fall out of that crib at all. You must be thinking of Leroy Bodenheimer, who was in the crib on the other side of you. I remember it all very well.
My, that Leroy Bodenheimer is a real charmer, isn't he, McGee?
Ah, he doesn't do anything but lie there and bubble. And he sure is a scrawny little runt. I bet he don't weigh over 6 pounds.
5'12" is what he told me. And he's going to be 4 days old this evening.
I just turned 3 myself. I'm already up to 9'6". I can lift my head up, too.
So can I. I've been able to do that for almost 2 hours.
I bet you can't grab a hold of the top of the crib and pull yourself up like I can. Do you want to see me do it?
Oh, I don't believe you can do it.
Sure I can. Just watch. There. How about that?
Heavenly days, you did it. You're my hero. I'll never look at Leroy Bodenheimer again.
And that's the way it was, Molly. I was prone to athletics and feats of strength even then.
Well, it might have been that way. At any rate, you just reminded me of something. I need your help to get the top off that jar of pickles I bought today.
Gee, I'd like to give you a hand, kiddo, but I'm having that trouble with my back again. You know, I think that Leroy Bodenheimer screws them jar tops on tight down at that grocery store just to embarrass me anyway. Molly, when one thing sticks out straight from something else, how many degrees of an angle is that?
That's 90 degrees, dearie.
Mm-hmm. And if the thing sticking out weighs 197 pounds, how much pressure would it take to hold it there?
I don't even understand the question.
Well, we'll call it X then. That's what us mathematizers call something when we don't know what we're talking about.
What in the world are you doing, McGee?
Getting ready to put up the storm windows.
Well, you don't need a mathematical equation to do that.
That, Mrs. McGee, is where you happen to be wrong. Let me ask you a simplified question. How did we get the storm windows up last year?
We borrowed the Toops' long ladder and you put them up.
Right. Now you're at the first plateau. The next question, where are the Toops' now? And part 2, where is their ladder?
The Toops are on vacation and the ladder's in their garage.
Correct again. And now for the mammoth jackpot. Is the garage locked?
Yes.
Right. All of which means I got to figure out another way to get up to the second floor. And by using the theory of algebraic progression, I've done just that.
Well, how could you possibly get up the outside of the house without a ladder?
Well, I'm not going to keep you in suspenders about that any longer, Molly. Allow me to unveil the greatest of all McGee inventions. Suction cups filled with glue that attach to the feet. I'm going to walk up the side of the house.
Oh, McGee, I've never heard of such a preposterous idea in my life.
It's just not possible for me to slip, Molly. I'd probably be safe just with water in the suction cups, but glue gives me added protection. You see, I just strapped them to my feet with these old belts, and I'm ready to go. Come on out in the yard, and I'll demonstrate.
McGee, if you fall from the second floor, I'll have to pick you up with an eyedropper.
It's not mathematically possible for me to fall. Got it all worked out on paper. I weigh 197 pounds. I'll be standing on the outside of the house at a 90-degree angle. So, 90x equals 197, and x equals 2.2.
2.2 what?
I don't know. I haven't got that figured out yet. But I know this is perfectly safe. I just grabbed a storm window and here I go.
Heavenly days, it does work. You're walking right up the side of the house.
Not only that, but it leaves both hands free now that I'm up here.
Well, I'm sorry I ridicule the idea, McGee. You look a little silly, but I'll have to admit that it does work.
Now then, I just walk across to the other bedroom and... Oh, my gosh.
What's the matter, McGee?
The glue in the suction cups must have dried while I was working on this first window. And I'm stuck.
McGee, should I call the fire department to get you down?
No, don't do that. I think I can lean in this bedroom window here and get free by slipping out of my shoes. But, Molly...
Yes, dearie?
If anybody ever asks you what them two shoes are doing stuck way up on side of the house, just say you don't know anything about it, will you?
McGee, this project of yours to get ready for fall has kept you busier than a caged leopard who forgot to take his tranquilizers. How are you coming along?
Pretty good, Molly. I just got about one more big project left. By the way, do you know where that old brown belt of mine is? The one that don't quite make it around my chest anymore?
What it doesn't make it around is one step below your chest. But I think the belt is in the drawer of the library table.
Okay, thanks.
What do you want it for anyway?
I got to rake the leaves in the front yard.
Well, if you think the exercise will make it possible for you to get that belt fastened again, I'm afraid you're in for a big disappointment.
No, the belt plays a much more vital role in this project than merely holding my pants up. I got a great idea that's going to save me a covey of work before this autumnal equinox has run its gamut.
I suppose those big words are designed to tell me that you've come up with another silly invention, McGee.
Molly, this silly invention happens to be not a silly invention at all. It's an automatic tree shaker out of which I'll probably make a neat nickel.
Did I understand you to say an automatic tree shaker?
That's right. Works off the power of the gasoline lawnmower carried through this belt. Gives the trees a violent shake. All automatic.
I see.
No, aren't you going to ask me why?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh. Well, I know you're bursting with curiosity, so I'll tell you. And actually, the reason is fairly oblivious. You see, Molly, the most frustrating thing about leaf raking is that by the time you've finished, another big batch of leaves has fallen down.
Right.
And this invention of mine shakes all the leaves off the trees before you start. That way, you only have to do the job once.
Well, it's not a bad idea if it really works.
Oh, it's utterly foolproof. I already got the lawnmower motor out by the big elm tree. Come on out. I'll hook up this belt and show you how it works.
All right. You have so few inventions that work that I'd hate to miss one.
I figure I'll loan this thing to the Toopses and to Doc Gamble, too. That way, we won't have leaves from their yards blowing over here after I've finished raking.
Well, let's be sure it works before you're overcome by neighborly generosity.
Oh, this is so simple, I'm surprised some other great mind hasn't latched onto it before this. All you do is wrap the belt around the tree and then around the motor. Then you fasten the buckle, and you're all set to shake those leaves right out of their sockets. Now, just watch.
Heavenly days, it is shaking the leaves off the trees. But be careful, McGee. Don't get too close to the motor.
Oh, I just got to be sure it's operating proper. Even a great successful inventor keeps looking for little flaws. I want to... Whoa!
Heavenly days, McGee. You gotten yourself caught in the thing. What should I do?
I can't reach the switch. I'm shaking like a nervous witch doctor with the hiccups.
We have to do something. That thing will jar the fillings right out of your teeth.
Oh, wait a second, Molly. Leave it alone. This gadget is operating just like a reducing machine. I'm knocking leaves off the trees and inches off my waistline at the same time. This is really the greatest invention I've ever come up with yet.
Some of the 5-minute vignettes from the old weekend NBC Monitor service. Those are from 1959. It's almost inconceivable today that any television show could last as long and stay as popular as did the concept of Fibber McGee and Molly. Born on radio in Chicago in the 1930s, finally evolving into the concept of Fibber McGee and Molly in 1935, then moving to Hollywood, surviving more than a year without Molly when she was off because of alcoholism, then lasting through the 30s and the war years and into the 50s, finally becoming a 15-minute daily show in 1953, and then by 1959 a series of vignettes on weekend radio. 1935, 1959. That's a long run. But the popularity of Fibber McGee and Molly was due to the warmth and genuine nature of the married couple Jim and Marion Jordan, whom we knew as Fibber McGee and Molly. We've got another half year to go, and we'll continue to look at that great series right here. And by the way, if you ever go to the gravesite of Fibber and Molly, Jim and Marion, you won't find a big ostentatious memorial or a mausoleum. 2 simple names on a single gravestone, in a Los Angeles cemetery. Nothing special. And about 10 feet away, the grave of Sharon Tate. What a crazy world we live in.
Next time around, Dennis will continue his look at what some say was the best series in the history of old-time radio. Fibber McGee and Molly, right here.
Good night. Good night, all.
Morrison Bridge speaking.